All right, welcome back to episode 43 of the Second Look Sports Podcast. As usual, I'm your host, Justin Arenburg today, and joined along with me is Brandon Brown. Just like I said last week, it's hard to match up these schedules with everything going on. Work schedules are, intertwining, and it's not always going to be on the same page, so we are missing Alex today, unfortunately. But Brandon, how are you feeling this Thursday, fine Thursday afternoon?
I'm doing good, Justin. You're stuck with me this week. Yeah, I know I missed last week. I'm glad you guys had Ian Finlayson come on, right, and do some
Yeah.
talk about Dylan Cease and the addition the Jays made. And we're a week later, we've got another Jays edition that we're going to get into. So it's been a good week. Obviously, lots of news, lots of sports going on, and yeah, lots of shit going on in general. So I'm excited to break it all down with you.
Yeah, I mean, let's just jump right into it. You alluded to it, so let's just go right to it. Cody Ponce signs, I think it was Monday night, or Tuesday night, Monday or Tuesday night, I can't remember. I think it was actually Tuesday night.
Tuesday.
Tuesday night with the Toronto Blue Jays on a 3-year contract, $30 million in total, $10 million per season. And to be honest, this signing had a lot of people going, who is Cody Ponce and why is he on the Toronto Blue Jays? That was an honest answer for a lot of Blue Jays fans because a lot of people were not familiar with his game, including myself. This is a guy that was drafted in the MLB back in 2015, made appearances in 2020 and 2021 with the Pittsburgh Pirates, but then faded out because of his, he just couldn't adjust to the MLB and find his footing. And he went over to Korea where he absolutely dominated this past year, putting up a record of 17-1, pitching 180.2 innings and 2/3 innings, 1.889 ERA, 252 strikeouts, and is the KOB, which is the Korean League MVP. That's why they gave this man $30 million over 3 years, which honestly is not a lot of money if you want to be completely fair with it. Yes, NHL terms, this is a massive deal, but in MLB terms, this is not a big deal. It's just the way it goes. It's low risk, high reward. This is a guy that could give you could be a very good starting pitcher for you. Could be a long inning relief guy for you. He could even develop into a bullpen guy for you. I can't see that really happening, but I can see long inning relief or a really good starting pitcher for you that just not a lot of people are expecting. And yeah, the rotation looks like there's like a couple guys that are just like in no man's land, like Bowden Francis and Jose Barrios, but we know the one thing in MLB you can count on is injuries. So this rotation is going to be fluctuating in and out the whole season. So having more starting pitching, it's never a bad thing. We saw that with the Dodgers this year. They were basically down a whole starting rotation in the regular season, and then by playoff time they had their actual healthy rotation, which is what they wanted to roll out. So it's just really good to have a lot of extra arms, even if you're not going to use them. But I've rambled on quite a bit about Cody Ponce, and Brandon, I just want to get your initial thoughts of when you saw this deal. Like, were you in the same boat? Was a lot of people trying to figure out what this guy is and why the Blue Jays were interested in him in the first place?
I was certainly surprised that the deal happened. I think it was more so how fast the Jays have been moving throughout this
Yeah.
offseason. That's not very, hasn't been going on for very long. But now that's, two pretty significant signings within a week or so. And both of them in the starting pitching front. I don't think
Hmm.
many people would have expected that right away. So I think that's where most of the surprise came from. But I would agree with a lot of what you said. He's definitely a serviceable guy who's going to probably factor in for the Jays in a big way this year, whether he's making, 20 plus starts at the end of the rotation or if he's being depended on more because of injuries, like you said. I think no matter what, this is going to be looked at as a pretty good deal unless he completely falls
Hmm.
off a cliff.
Yeah.
I know his minimal, limited time in the MLB. I think it was in 2021. Some people are pointing to that, saying, "Hey, he may not be all that he's cracked up to be based on what he did in the KBO." But I think regardless, this is a guy that that should be with the Jays for the majority of the year. And if he can stay healthy as well, like I said, he's going to factor in more ways than one. I think he's a guy who can go out there, be a guy who keeps the Jays in games, which is how they operated last year as well. When they were stuck with injuries, they brought up guys, whether that was from
Yeah.
AAA
Yep.
or brought in guys off waivers at one point too, and they just continue to kind of churn out guys who could pitch 4, 5, 6 innings, whatever it is, and just keep them in games, and their offense takes care of the rest. And I think they're shaping up to hopefully have a similar team where they can just stick around in games. They don't need guys to go out and throw gems, and if they do, they're going to be guys at the front end of the rotation now. When you talk about Kevin Gosman and potentially Trey Savage and now Dylan Cease, like these are the
Yeah.
guys that are going to be counted on to pitch, heavy innings in important games. Whereas a guy like Ponce can come in and just be a back of the rotation guy, and just as when it's his turn, he'll take the ball, and there's not going to be a ton of pressure, I don't feel like, on his spot. So it was nice to see them continue to get things done and try to shore up that spot. And then hopefully now they can look to, whether it's the relief market or to the offense, and they can try to bring in other guys to help the team just keep getting better. So it's fantastic so far. I mean, you can't hate on anything the Jays have done, I don't think, since the unfortunate loss in the World Series.
No, and like you said, like the starting pitching is so deep right now, and then I'm looking at their two top prospects. In terms of also bringing them up next year, it creates a logjam, but also it could be a good thing and let them develop and get even more time in the AAA. Ricky Tiedemann and Jake Bloss, both really good starting pitchers that we hope can develop into more for the Toronto Blue Jays and be everyday MLB players. Ricky Tiedemann was once the best prospect on the Blue Jays roster, but if these guys and injuries are going to happen, they're probably going to get their chances. But if there's such a deep rotation already, it's not a bad thing to let them keep on developing unless they're going to push the envelope, just like Trey Savage did this year, and say, no, I got to come up now. Like, it's a good thing to have this kind of starting pitching depth that you don't have to worry about like those guys not getting a proper development schedule. You know what I mean? So I think it's really good all fronts. Like you said, if he falls off the face of the earth and he can't do it, then at the end of the day, like I said, it's a low risk. It's you're not giving up any assets for him. You're just signing him. And on top of that, you talk about the previous time in the MLB, his fastball was at 92 miles an hour, and now it's sitting at 98 miles an hour. There's a massive difference there, like massive, massive difference. And he was using the changeup at like 7% when he was in the MLB, and over this past season, he was using it like 33 or 35%. I'm pretty sure, somewhere in that range. So he's got more of what's the word I'm looking for? Variety of pitches that he
Yeah, he's got
uses.
a repertoire now. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That he's actually comfortable using instead of his time in the MLB, which I think is going to be beneficial coming back to the MLB. But yeah, what were you gonna say?
Well, I was just going to say that, like you said, clearly his stuff. I think he's a guy that I think Ben Nicholson Smith at Sportsnet has been saying for weeks now that this is a guy that the Jays have probably been targeting, and it makes sense because if they like his stuff and they think similar to lead to Eric Lauer last year, you bring a guy over who had some minimal time in the MLB, but it never really cracked out.
Yeah.
Bring him back, see if you can work with him, and look what happened. It was a fantastic success story this season. So I think you can keep going back to the well and trying it until it doesn't work. And for the most part, the Jays have had more luck with these types of signings than the Dylan Ceases or the big names in the past. So I mean, I'm excited that they're just continuing to make headway in terms of seeing guys that they want and being able to go get them, and hopefully they can continue those kind of success stories where they just continue to work with guys and allow them to come back into the MLB and reach their peak as they might never have done with another team or at all. So
I think the one massive factor that I think like gets overlooked when talking about the free agent signings that the Toronto Blue Jays are able to get in terms of pitching is Pete Walker. Like Pete Walker, if he did not like he's developed a lot of these pitchers, like, and he's brought in a bunch of big talent guys, and he's helped them take care of their bodies while maintaining absolute high performance at every single season. And that's exactly why I think these free agents like look at Toronto as a destination, especially in pitching. Like, I don't know a market like off the top of my head that brings in pitchers and gets good results more than the Toronto Blue Jays because of the pitching staff that they have, and especially Pete Walker. Like, I got to give credit to Pete Walker because I guarantee you that Dylan Cease does not sign with the Toronto Blue Jays if he doesn't believe in what Pete Walker is saying to him. Like, and Cody Ponce probably the same thing. Like, they realize that this is a place where they believe in pitching and they have a great pitching program and they have a great recovery program for your body where they're going to be able to keep you healthy, throwing innings and delivering on the highest stage for a very long time. And I think that's a massive reason why the Toronto Blue Jays are able to sign these big time free agents.
And I think it works both ways too, Justin. Like, you got a guy like Walker who's most likely working with Ross. It's most likely Atkins
Mm-hmm.
to kind of decide throughout the market who the guys they're going to go after. And the fact that they're jumping the market and maybe even paying a small bit amount more than what other teams might,
Yeah.
that just proves to you that those are the guys that they've got their eyes on, and those are the guys that they believe can come in, join the rotation, join the staff, and put together a great season. And even if it's a guy like Cease who's had up and down results, but is widely regarded as a great starting pitcher, they see that they can help them reach that potential. And whether it's because of a specific pitch or just the kind of the variety that they throw or
Mm-hmm.
just the style of pitcher that they are, like I really do think that they're confident that if they choose the right guy, they can help them come in and achieve the results that they're looking for as well. So I think the players will see that too. And I'm sure in their pitches to them, that's a huge part of it, is like, we don't want you to just come in to help us win. We want to help you get to that level that you've maybe been
Exactly.
to before
Exactly.
or that you haven't been able to get to yet. So I think it's a huge part of their marketing, in terms of the team. And I think you're probably bang on. I think Pete Walker is not getting enough credit for, his whether it's scouting or eye for just the kind of guys that they want to bring in, and they've had success doing that. So
Yeah, exactly. Moving on from like who they're signing to who maybe they're not signing. What does this mean for Chris Bassett and Max Scherzer? Do you think that they are the odd man out? I was really hoping that they would bring back Chris Bassett, not in a starting rotation role anymore. Even like if you're gonna bring him back, I was like, you gotta bring him back in a bullpen role. I really liked him in a bullpen role. I don't know if he was gonna be willing to do that for a full season, but if he was, 100% bring him back. If not, you're gonna have to move on from him. What do you think right now?
I mean, unfortunately, I do think that the ship has kind of sailed on both of those guys. I mean, Scherzer, I think it was more understood that this maybe was a 1 year thing, and if he pitched all right, he'd go back to the market and see kind of what his options are. But I think most people had hope that they would be able to keep Bassett beyond this year. So I mean,
Mhm.
it is tough, but I think the way that they've operated, I think that they, to your point, unless they do have a kind of a deal with Bassett where they might, convert him
Circle
into
back, yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like, kind of have an idea that, hey, we're going to see how the market plays out, but we're committed to bringing you back at some point for maybe a reduced role. But I think he's going
Yeah.
to have opportunities to go and get starting pitcher money
Mhm.
too. So I
Mhm.
think that's going to be the hard thing for the Jays to kind of cope with. And unfortunately, for that reason alone, I think that both of those guys will probably end up on other teams going into 2026.
Well, I think if he is coming back, Bassett, that is. I think if he is coming back, then it's gonna have to be on a hometown discount. Basically, I don't think that they're gonna pay him what he could probably get on the open market, and I think that's his decision to make. Which rightfully so, because you should get the money that you deserve. But also, if you want to stay in Toronto, then you can make that decision as well. For Max Scherzer, though, he went onto a podcast. Actually, Leafs Morning Take. I think
Yeah,
that's what it's called.
yeah, I saw that.
And
Yeah.
he was saying "we" a lot. Do you think that there's anything to that? Like, in terms like, we wanna run it back, we wanna do this, like, it just seems like he's very interested in returning to Toronto. I don't know if if Ross and Shapiro feel the same way and reciprocate that same love, but do you see that with Max? Like, or do you just think, like you said, it's just over for him? Like, here, at least.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell because obviously we don't know the conversations that are being had, but I think that could also be his way of saying, like, I'd be open to coming back, but maybe trying to kind of
Mm,
poke and prod at the Jays to maybe spend what they maybe wouldn't have before. So, I mean, it would obviously be great, and if yeah, and similarly to Bassett, if Scherzer's willing to come back at a reduced, because I think it would be a reduced role for him as well. Like, regardless
yeah,
of what you think, if he didn't get injured last year, he's going to try to make every start. But I don't know this year if they would need him or ask him to do that. So I think
yeah.
the reduced role there might come with yeah, like you said, kind of a reduced paycheck, maybe some sort of hometown discount if there is an agreement on what they think they can do together. But
Yeah.
it's hard to tell. I really don't know. But it's great to hear him and to hear a guy of that quality speak so highly of the team, of the organization, and to even have a shred of thought that he might want to come back and be a part of this town and city or whatever, is huge. So I mean, it's great to hear it, and I think every Blue Jays fan would take Scherzer back in the blue and white, regardless of what the situation is, and obviously same with Bassett. It just seems like they're really trying to get better. Like, I'm not
Yeah. Yeah.
disrespect to either of those guys. They're great pitchers, and they have been for their entire careers, but I don't know if you'd find too many guys that think, a Cease and Ponce combination, it probably helps you get a little bit
Oh yeah,
closer next
100%.
year than Scherzer and Bassett, even though they bring an incredible personality and incredible, obviously incredible teammates as well. So it's a tough feeling, but I think that's kind of the way we're heading still.
I do think, however, that if both were to take massive hometown discounts, that both of them could return still. Like at the end of the day, I think having a bunch of arms isn't going to hurt you. Like it helps because in when you get into injury situations, you don't have to rely on AAA pitchers, and like I said, you can let Jake Bloss and Ricky Tiedemann still develop, and like I said, like you can just have an abundance of arms at your disposal, and you can just, roll through them. Obviously, different roles would have to be talked about, like Scherzer and Bassett maybe coming out of the bullpen and being like fifth inning guys, sixth inning guys from now going forward or something like that to get them everyday pitching, instead of just, sitting there and starting once every, like, I don't know, 3, 4 weeks, like kind of deal. But like, you know what I mean? Like, if I do think there's a door open for them to return. It's just they have to take massive hometown discounts. Sticking with the Blue Jays, we're gonna switch it up to another possible signing. Kyle Tucker, reportedly by a lot of sources yesterday, visited the Toronto Blue Jays Dunedin facilities. Do you read anything into this, Brandon?
Well, I read into it that Jays are seriously, considering, if they haven't already made an offer, they're seriously considering doing so for Kyle Tucker's services. But I think beyond that, I don't think it doesn't say too much from Tucker's side. I think this is just the beginning of probably a long list of teams that he'll visit. I think I was reading that Tucker lives in the Dunedin area, so he's fairly close to the Jays. I think there's a couple other teams that have facilities near there as well. So
Yeah,
it probably won't be too long until we hear that he's visited another club or he's, obviously weighing his options, and there will be options for Tucker. So, I mean, I'm excited of the prospect of having him join the Jays. I mean, I think that kind of, that kind of move would, combined with the two moves they've already made. I mean, it would put them in conversation of having probably the best offseason of the MLB this year. So, I mean,
yeah, yeah,
barring some other crazy stuff happening, I think, they're certainly all in to try to get back to the World Series and how change the result this time around. So if they think Kyle Tucker is the guy who can help them get over the top, I mean, I think they should do pretty much whatever it takes. But that doesn't necessarily mean that Tucker is going to make the decision to come to Toronto. So I think it's a good
yeah.
start, and we'll see if anything else comes out of it. But for now, I'm just trying to temper expectations and try to not get too excited about another guy, on his way to visit the Jays. So it's good.
Do you think? Do you think personally that it's clear the Toronto Blue Jays are prioritizing signing Kyle Tucker over Bo Bichette at this point?
I don't think it's clear. I mean, I don't know what the situation is with Bo, if he plans on meeting with other teams, if he's, having conversation. I'm sure they're negotiating, they're doing whatever it takes to get one. I'm sure both they would love to have, but that seems like that's not a likely scenario.
Yeah,
So
it's landing both would be very unlikely, I think.
yeah, so I mean, realistically, I mean, I think they're just trying to, be a part of both negotiations, I'm sure. And if one ends up moving a little bit quicker than the other, I can't imagine that they're going to wait around for the other guy to kind of figure it out. So that's kind of where I'm at now, and it'll be interesting to see if we ever, get any kind of leaks or headlines out of kind of what Bo is doing. I know, someone kind of popped a theory in my head that yeah, this maybe the Jays leaked the Tucker information in order to kind of speed things up with Bo. Maybe they haven't heard from him. Maybe they don't know what's going on there. So maybe, you put out some info that, hey, we're really serious about this Tucker guy, and maybe that helps move things in one direction or another. So
Well,
it's
I would think that would like offend Bo more so. And then push him to like be like, hey, only because like if you're gonna like to me, if I was Bo, I would take it as, hey, I've been the guy that's been with this organization a long time. They should be taking care of me, and instead they're going after this guy. And then if you want to leak news,
yeah.
like you said, like and try to push him, I would be more so like, hey, you don't want me? Okay, well then I'm just gonna go at somewhere else, and we're not gonna talk for the rest of the time.
But that leaves an impression that Bo is being, is courteous, is willing to make a deal, that he's not kind of playing that way too. So, and that's the thing, is we don't know how the negotiations or how the conversations are happening. So it could be one way or the other. Like you said, it could be Tucker's camp as well, trying to get negotiations going with other teams. Maybe see that showing to others that, hey, we've got a team who's serious about it. Let's kind of get things going. Trying to maybe raise the market a little bit or something to that matter. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely interesting. And again, it's just another sign though of how the Jays are clearly not sitting on all this. They
No.
want to be in every conversation. They want to talk to every free agent, it seems like, and they want to try to see if the guys that they think can help their team are really a serious opportunity to come to Toronto, because they're not going to sit back and be left at the table with nothing. So it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks as things ramp up.
Yeah, especially because the winter meetings start this weekend in Orlando, so we will definitely keep an eye on that as it tracks for the through the remainder of the week. And for anyone that doesn't know, winter meetings times basically means everything ramps up in the MLB offseason. Deals get done, massive trade gets done. Garrett Crochet, this is when he was traded last year from the White Sox to the Boston Red Sox. So like a lot of things happen at the winter meetings. It's when everyone's together, all the agents, all the executives, and yeah, a lot of stuff gets done around this time of year. It's a massive, massive event for the MLB, and then this is the last like big event until spring training in February. So yeah, like it's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens. But we're gonna switch up to the NHL now and go into um someone that just he literally cannot stop being in the headlines, and in a good way. Like Connor Bedard is constantly, every single game, it feels like, outperforming everyone on the ice. And it's just it's undeniable at this point. Like he might be a top 15 player in the league based if you're just gonna take in a vacuum right now. Like this season alone, like like he's probably top 10 this year. Like top 10 players for a vacuum alone this season. Who you're taking? It's Connor Bedard's in the top 10. So I think it's undeniable that he's gonna have to be on Team Canada. Like there's no way that you're leaving him off of Team Canada. He's got 38 points in 26 games. I watched the Vegas game, Blackhawks versus Vegas the other night, and like I said, he's the best player on the ice, better than Jack Eichel, Mitch Marner, and Mark Stone. There wasn't even a comparison, and he's got no one on his team. He's making these guys. Tyler Bertuzzi has 14 goals on the year. Like he's making these guys look really good. And it's just really impressive to watch. I know I'm rambling here for a couple of seconds, but like Brandon, when you're watching him, like I don't know if you're like really paying attention to him or watching his games, but like you're probably seeing the highlights at least. Are you shocked by this? Like, is this shocking how much of a like year to year jump this has been for Connor Bedard?
Well, I mean, maybe to the degree, like you said, of how quickly the jump seems to have happened. I mean, like you said, I mean, yeah, I feel like last year it was undeniable that he, obviously didn't have a ton of help around him. He maybe looked a little bit overwhelmed and was, put right into the, top
Yeah.
top
Oh
line
yeah.
center from day one. He wasn't really given much of a chance to succeed in his first year, but it feels like now
Still put up
he's,
60 points too.
and that's the thing, is like he
But
he
he's a
still
bust.
he still contributed, and he was still showed that he was deserving of being the number one pick. He was clearly, the best rookie last year. But yeah, you look at a guy like like Bedard this year, and it's like completely flipped. It feels like he's gained confidence. He looks a little bit stronger, but to your point,
Oh
he's
yeah.
just dominating games. Like he's not just, oh, he's getting a goal or he maybe gets an assist one game or
Yeah.
another. It's like, no, he's taking over games. He's over a point per game. He's going to be probably a top 10 scorer this year. Like
Yep.
it's undeniable, like you said, how fast he seems to have picked it up, and that's only to his credit. We saw um, he was very serious about his development this summer. He chose to kind of stay at home, work really hard, and it's really paying off because he's
Mhm.
clearly, the talent level's there, and now that with that work ethic, it's there's no question that he's going to continue his rise. And as the team continues to grow up, they've got some really talented young players around him. But you're right, like he's not directly benefiting from a lot of help on whether it's his line
Yeah.
or on the power play, whatever. Like he's still going to need, whether it's free agents or some of these young guys growing up to kind of reach his level and help him continue to grow too. Because yeah, you look at a guy like him, and in a couple of years, it's not just going to be the individual accolades; it's going to be team accolades as well. And once that team kind of gets to a point where they expect to make the playoffs every year, and they're going to be able to compete because they're going to have one of the best players in the league. So it's been very impressive, and I'm just excited to see um, how the year continues, obviously for Bedard, but how much he can continue to grow even within this season. I imagine by the time we get to the spring, he's going to look, he's obviously looking great now, but he's going to continue to grow and look like even more mature guy with more and more experience under his belt.
Yeah, and like you said, like it's not just he's going out there and dominating the game with points wise as well. Like not just his offensive play of the game, it's his defense as well. I'm really noticing that side of the puck as well. He's become really disciplined on that side of the puck. And I don't think it's like, hey, you put Bedard out on for a defensive draw anymore. And it's like, oh, this is a bad idea. Like, no, he's good in this situation now. Like, he's responsible enough not just to go and try to break out of the zone quickly and cherry pick basically and try to get a rush chance. No, he's actually staying back and he's putting his stick in lanes that you didn't see last year. He's being more physical, like you said, and it's his. He's got a little bit of bite to him, which I absolutely love. Like he's not just taking it, like, he's giving it back to these guys. As soon as, like, they're gonna pick on him, he's just like, "I'm giving it right back to you guys." Like, I love the fact that him and Mason McTavish went at it. Like, McTavish comes at him, he's not backing down from that. Like, the ref pulled him away from it. Like, this kind of thing. He chirps at the bench after getting his 4th point of the night, like, after being down 3-0 in that game. Like, this is the stuff that you love to see if you're a Chicago Blackhawks fan. Like, you want this in your player. That guy has more passion right now than I think Austin Matthews. And I don't want to say that to compare to the Leafs, but like you look at what he's doing and what he's like what he's doing on the ice, and like you can literally see the raw emotion this guy has and what he's playing with and like what he cares about. It's not just like putting up points for him, it's winning games. Him and Frank Nazar literally had an interview at the beginning of the season where they're like, we just want to win games. That's all we want to do. Win games. And they are definitely doing that, which leads me to the next question. They're 1 point out of a wild card spot right now. Do you see if they are in the hunt? I would say like 5 to 6 points out at the maximum. One like in a wild card spot, probably at the highest. Do you think that they would make a deal to be like not a massive buyer, but like give the team a little bit more, and try to like boost, I would say, the pathway a little bit here because I don't think that they were expecting to take this big of a jump this season, I would say. So do you see a trade? Could they possibly in the trade market, a buyer's market for the first time in a while?
I mean, I guess I could see it, but I think that would kind of be a mistake on the part of the Blackhawks. I mean, for me, the main reason I say that is because I think even in the Western Conference, and we've seen in the Eastern Conference, it's been quite a crazy mix of teams kind of sticking around early. But in the West, I feel like teams like Winnipeg and teams like Edmonton that are, I think, technically behind them, I think
Yeah.
by a point or two, I think you would expect to see those teams kind of at some point get it together and eventually pass them, at least in the wild card race,
Mhm.
and we'll see those teams in the playoffs, which unfortunately puts Chicago another notch or two back. I think they're sitting with tied with Seattle maybe for that just outside of the playoffs. So I mean that's kind of where I see them being for most of the season. Like you said, that 5-6 point out range. I don't think they'll completely fall apart at some point and drop to double digits out and eventually be eliminated early. But I don't see them having enough to really stick with some of the other playoff teams and be able to cross over that threshold. So for me, I think you just kind of keep rolling with it, and if you get in, you get in, and you do with it what you can. You use that experience of even a first round exit. You continue to grow as a team, and you get that experience down the line. But
Mhm.
because you wouldn't want to part with anything that could potentially help you more in the future. Now, if there's a deal like you said, where they can pick up some assets that are still going to be valuable over the next few years that helps Chicago eventually reach their goal, then I think maybe you consider it. But I don't think you do it if it's in terms of a prospect that they're high on, or a top top 3 round pick or something in order to try to
Yeah.
get somebody in. Like I don't
Yeah.
think you need to be chasing playoff experience or
Exactly.
veterans for
Yeah.
guys. But if there's a deal that you think really helps your team get better over the long term, I don't see why you wouldn't do that. So
Like, if you're giving up a third round pick, like, for example, like, Kuzmenko last year, goes to LA, like, that type of player, where you're just giving up, like, a mid-round pick, you're not giving up massive, but it's a player that, like, could help you in your lineup type deal.
yeah, yeah, maybe you take a shot at a guy who's kind of down and you
Exactly.
can kind of buy low, but yeah, I wouldn't, like I said, be giving up kind of like high assets in order to kind of, you know, unless it's something again like
Yes, yeah.
where you're completely blown away and it's like you kind of got to give up good to get good. But that's just kind of where I'm sitting is like just continue to let these guys develop. You don't want to, try to go too hard and then maybe you still miss the playoffs anyway, and then you're kind of without that asset. So you kind of want
Mhm.
to just play it cool, play it smart, and I think obviously there's still a lot of time until the trade deadline, so they can kind of see where they're at as the season goes on and see what their leadership group and some of their best players are able to do.
It is a while to the trade deadline, but if you think about the double retention rule that is in the NHL this season for the first time, it actually means that if you wanna make, 2 retention moves where you are, like, give or holding on to cap, from a move, um, you have to make the first move by December 20th. So, it's kinda coming up quickly, and I think that we'll see maybe 1 or 2 trades that, like, are, like, for teams that, wanna do that double retention. Um, I think we'll see that come into a factor at the December 20th deadline for that. But yeah, it's gonna be very interesting. Moving on to the next thing is Nathan MacKinnon, just the best player in the world right now. I think, like, is it safe to say that if you were to pick a player today, who would you want, McKinnon or McDavid?
I mean, it's a very fair question, but I mean, to me, I think I would still take Connor McDavid. I think McKinnon is a fantastic player. Obviously, has that one thing that McDavid's been chasing, which is that Stanley Cup victory.
Yeah.
But I think when it comes to just the level of I don't even know if dynamic
Yeah, yeah.
even kind
I
of
think both of them
takes the
have it.
cake.
Like, it's so
They
close with both of them. So
And that's the thing. And I'm not saying again, like if and maybe that this is my point is like I think with the run that McKinnon is on this season, and even last season, he obviously had a fantastic year, and
the
even though they
season
didn't,
before that as
yeah,
well, like,
and even though they haven't really been able to get it done and get back to the cup final, um, he does clearly stand out as maybe the 1B in the NHL, I think, when you look at it. And he probably doesn't get enough credit for that, maybe because of the market or just because of how many people view McDavid. But I do still think that at least because of the way that the last two playoffs have gone and where McDavid has at times put that team on his back, and there's been regular season success, and then he's kind of had playoff success, not to that level like I said with McKinnon where he's actually culminated in winning a championship. But I think that now you can kind of say that McDavid is kind of right there with McKinnon where it comes to playoff performance.
I don't know because, like,
He's got the Conn Smythe,
I
he's
would
got
I would say that McKinnon, like, even though, like, they get eliminated, like, in the first round last year against Dallas in 7 games, he's got 7 goals in 7 games. Like, I don't know what else you want him to do with that like, you know what I mean? Like, he had
I
10
want I
points,
mean I
7 7
It's fair.
goals,
It
like,
is fair,
it's
and
like
I don't expect either one to win every year. But like again, I'm just saying like if and we the one thing is I don't think we've had like an Edmonton Colorado playoff
we
matchup.
did, we
Did
did, and that was the year that Colorado swept them in the Western Conference Finals when they got there the first time.
right. So
Because
we're going back a ways. Like now I think
yeah,
we're
yeah, that
seeing
that's the one they went and won the cup, I'm pretty
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, and that's obviously that's advantage MacKinnon. But I think now if we saw these guys, and I think most people would agree that at least McDavid, MacKinnon for sure, like they're both kind of at their peak right now. And it'd be great if we saw like a Western Conference Finals this year where it's Colorado, Edmonton, and you kind of that. I think most people would say, hey, whoever wins that series maybe deserves to be the guy going forward. And then especially if they were to win a cup after that, like it's quite the race right now, and I think it's very much deserved. And I think that, like I said, MacKinnon is right there. If he's not equal to, he's just behind. The way that McDavid's been playing, it's such a fair question.
It's so interesting though, because I heard an Edmonton talk show say that they think McDavid's coming out of his prime, like, just yesterday,
Based on what his
based on his
production this
play
year,
this year.
yeah,
Yes.
I don't agree with that. I think that it's been a tough year in Edmonton so far because of the way that they chose to go about kind of retooling their team. There's a lot more young guys, less veteran leadership. I think the Corey Perry loss was huge, especially for a
Yes.
guy like
Yeah.
McDavid. I think he really enjoyed playing with him, and it just took so much of the pressure off him on the ice. I do think, like I was saying earlier, when it comes to Chicago, like I do think Edmonton's going to figure this out, and it only takes McDavid, a couple games, and then he'll be on a 15 point in 6 game heater or something. So, yeah, I think that the demise of him is a little bit exaggerated, but I would say that, um, yeah, they get, like I said, McKinnon, especially the run that the Avalanche are on right now, and if they go out and win a Stanley Cup, and it doesn't seem like anybody's really given them any trouble, like there's no doubt in my mind that would, for me, that would probably elevate him over a guy like McDavid. You talk about 2 cups, the type of point production that he's had at times as well. It clearly puts him at least. It would it clearly put him at least that level, and like I said,
Oh
probably above
yeah.
him. So I mean,
Like,
you can't really deny it.
he's got 22 goals in 26 games this year. He's got 46 points. He's on pace for 145, which would be better than his Hart season.
What was that number that McDavid put up that one year?
160,
Like
164, I think it was, or something like that.
But then again, like 15 points to me in one season doesn't really define who's the better player. So yeah, like I said, if we continue to see this type of
Right
dominance,
now,
like it's
though,
no question.
right now he's projected for 69 goals and 76 assists this season. That's McKinnon.
Which I don't think he'll hit by like I think if he
No,
gets
I don't think he's gonna hit
if
that,
he
but I
but
think he's gonna hit.
if he gets to 60 goals and like 120, 130 points, like
Oh no,
yeah,
he's hitting 140. I think
yeah. So
if he gets 60, it's probably gonna be like 60 and 80, somewhere in that
yeah,
range.
yeah,
Um, he's just like a lot of these guys, like the 20 goal season's like a really good season, and he's December 4th and he's got 22 goals.
yeah,
Like
it's insane.
that's how insane this is right now. Like, it's crazy that he is on this kind of pace in terms of goals as well. Because you don't even think of like McKinnon as like a goal scorer. And like, he said McDavid said in the offseason, I want to score 50. McKinnon, man, like he's hit 50 before. He hit 50 in his Hart year, but yeah, it's crazy what he's doing. It's
Yeah.
really remarkable to watch.
And it's
I
great
do
because
think
the sorry, I was just gonna say that the league, I think, benefits when there's 2 guys that like we
yeah.
had the Crosby and Ovechkin era, and I think now as we're moving out of that, maybe it's these young guys, Bedard and Celebrini, maybe they take over, but I think for most NHL fans, it's McDavid, and then I think everyone wants it to be McKinnon, and that's where it's like, yeah, you need that
He
now,
is
like that
it definitely is him. Like, I don't think
exactly.
there's anyone else that you could even
But
argue
I
with
don't think
him.
they're marketing it to that level, which is unfortunate because I
Yes.
think you saw like especially with Crosby and Ovechkin both being in the Eastern Conference for so long, McDavid and McKinnon have been in the Western Conference, like maybe that's part of it, but like yeah, it would be great if, and I'm sure they do this like when those 2 teams match up, but like it just doesn't seem like that rivalry is being, kind of pushed
Yeah,
enough.
I don't
Yeah.
think it's like a rivalry thing, like, they're
Which
like
sucks. That
yeah.
sucks. Like it should be like, whether it's whether it needs more playoff juice or whether they just continue to push it, and maybe scheduling over the next couple of years, that's something they could do to make it a marquee night, or to have
Make
it
it a
kind of
special
a,
game.
yeah, have it
Like,
stand
make it
alone,
a
or
outdoor
national
game or
games.
something like that.
Yeah, that's a great point. Put them in an event game, or
Yeah.
yeah, like if it comes down to playoff matchups, obviously those
Winter
rivalries tend to
Classic,
come on their
just
own. But
do that, something like that. And this is I know plus minus. A lot of people say it's like a useless stat. I care about it when it gets like a really high number because I think it's very telling. You're plus 32 in December, like that is insane to me. Like
yeah,
that's not just like you're on the ice for a couple, like you're just putting your skates on the ice and they put the puck in the back of the net. And you're like, woo, got a plus. No, he's definitely like it's plus 32 is legit in this situation, and that's insane to see. But for me, I think MacKinnon has to be the best player in the world right now. And that's just looking straight up at what we've seen this season. I'm not saying like overall, like who's better. Like I think you still look at McDavid and you say like he's better, but this season right now, who do you want? It's McKinnon without a doubt for me.
for
Just his
sure.
performance so far this season has been unreal, and Colorado's an absolute wagon. I think um, like you have Makar, sure, you can default to say, oh, he has Makar on his team, but it still doesn't matter. He has to do what he has to do to be the best player in the world, and he's doing that on a nightly basis. Like it's night after night. You just have to think like, oh, Nathan MacKinnon's just gonna put up 2 to 3 points on us tonight. Like it's just casual like that.
Yeah,
just just that way.
yeah.
Um, moving on to the next thing is the Florida Panthers. Listen, your Toronto Maple Leafs went down on Tuesday. They got an important win against them, 4-1 victory in the rematch of the Eastern Conference semifinal last year. I know both teams are kind of injured right now, so it's like, does it really matter? Does it not matter? I think it did matter for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't think it mattered for the Florida Panthers because it's just another game on their schedule. They don't have their big guys. Toronto had all their big guys up front, and that's the real kicker to me. But the Florida Panthers, let's talk about them. Like, are they in more trouble than what I think people think they are? Like they're last in the Eastern Conference now, albeit they are only 6 points out of a playoff spot right now, but still last place in the Eastern Conference, even behind the Buffalo Sabres. You know, is this something to worry about?
I mean, I'm sure internally they're, worried about their chances in terms of making the playoffs this year, and especially with all their injuries in terms of crawling back into the race. Like, but I think it's, as an outsider, it's hard to look at it and criticize anybody. I think you talk about Barkov, you talk about Kachuk, Swaggy Verhaeghe's been out. It's
Yeah.
tough to win when you don't have some of your best players, right? So just like we've seen in Toronto with kind of the rolling injuries that they've had, you start to get a few guys back, and look what happens. They start to win a couple of games in a row, and they'll be able to continue to try to crawl their way back in. And right now, Florida doesn't have that kind of wiggle room because they're not going to get certain guys back for a little bit still. And Barkov
Mm-hmm.
obviously is a question mark at all this season. So I mean, I think it for them. I think it sucks that they're going to look at the season as maybe it might be a lost season if they don't end up kind of crawling their way to the basement.
Yeah.
But I mean, after two straight Stanley Cup wins, I mean, you can't. It never works
Three
out
straight
forever.
finals.
Three straight finals as well. Like even if these guys were back and playing at full strength, that kind of mileage on these guys, and
Yeah.
just the
Can't blame them.
standard puck luck in general, right? Like it's hard to win that much in the NHL. So
Yeah.
so I wouldn't have like I obviously would have put them in the playoffs at full strength, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I thought they were going to be, running through the league again. So I think it's unfortunate, like I said, but I think it's good for the league as well to see new blood continue to come in, and some of these younger teams develop, and now we'll probably see at least one new team in the playoffs this year, maybe more. So I'm excited to see where it goes, and for Florida, yeah, I'm sure like if it does end up being a lost season, maybe it's good for them to kind of regroup and then take another shot next year. So we'll kind of see what happens as we go
Y-
forward.
Yeah, like I expect them to make the playoffs. Like I know Matthew Kachuk said it on his podcast the other day. Like he's on ice now. He's progressing well. So I expect them to get these guys back. Barkov's been pushing him in the gym, which is just crazy to think about. That Barkov, the one that tore his ACL, is the one that's pushing Matthew Kachuk, who's closer to returning back in the gym. It's just crazy to think that. But am I shocked? No. but this is a Florida Panthers team that is without a lot of guys. Luostarinen, like we said, Verhaeghe, like you said, Matthew Tkachuk. Like it's just a bunch of and Dmitry Kulikov as well. Like a bunch of guys that like actually mean something to their lineup, and without them, they're not going to be the exact same. Now, I think they're playing hard, and I think that um, they're like they're only 6 points of a playoff spot, so like it's not like you go on a massive run here and you can't even get back into the playoffs. Like if they go on a 5 game win streak, they're probably second in the Atlantic right now. You know what I mean? Like it's just that type of run that you need to get out of the basement basically and get going. But yeah, right now I don't think it's time to panic about the Florida Panthers. It's more so seeing if you were thinking after watching that game closely if it's time to worry about them. I think if you look at this team at the end of, I would say, January, and like they're even further down the standings in terms of like being points out. I'm not really talking about where you are in the standings of Eastern Conference because it's so close. But if you're even like 10 points out of it in the end of January, then I think you're worrying about the Florida Panthers seriously going forward. And like you said about reloading, the only bad thing is they traded away that pick, and which they want to Stanley Cup with, obviously, so you can't really fault it. But that pick goes to Chicago, and that's unprotected for this upcoming year. So that pick could be really, really good for the Chicago Blackhawks if the Florida Panthers were to ever miss the playoffs this season. I think that
Yeah.
that's an underrated storyline that if like this continues, it could be a really good thing down the stretch here.
Yeah, definitely if they continue to be at the in the basement of the Eastern Conference, because yeah, then you're talking about a lottery pick, you're talking about
Yeah.
Chicago potentially having a chance at moving up and being in the top
Yeah.
3. So I mean, yeah, that would be an incredible story if it does play out, but I think you're right. Like the team will get some guys back, some important guys back, and as the season continues, I don't expect them to finish that low. But I don't. I mean, I don't know how long this run for them kind of drags on, and if we do get to if we are going talking about another month where they are playing 500 or worse hockey, by then I would expect that the gap to be, not just 5 or 6 points, but into the double digits. So it will be tough to crawl out of it if that's the way it goes. But
If
you're
that's
right.
the way it goes, yeah.
Paul Maurice is there, and they still have some talent, and they've got some hard workers as well. So I don't expect them to completely bottom out. But the way that their kind of season has progressed, starting with the Barkov injury and everything since then, it does seem like things are lining up for them to maybe take a step back. But he's talked about reloading, and we know Bill Zito is not a guy who's going to sit around. And if he
Yeah.
can make a move that helps them get better for next year or moving forward at all, like we know he's going to do that. So yeah, they'll definitely be a team to watch as we continue to roll through the season.
They're gonna be fine, I think. By the end of January, I think they're gonna be in a wild card spot at the very least. That's where I'll leave it. But another team that's struggling right now, just like the Florida Panthers, is the Winnipeg Jets. They held a players-only meeting on Monday after they lost to the Buffalo Sabres. And just a little side note, that has to be rough for the Buffalo Sabres because, man, if you think about it, like a bunch of teams are like, hey, we lose to this team, we gotta call a players only meeting. Like that's gotta be rough for those players to think,
Yeah.
hey, we're just the embarrassment of the NHL. And if we beat a team, they're like, there's some major problems going on with our team. Like it's just, it's gonna be embarrassing for that team. But moving on, they lose 5-1 in Buffalo, and then last night after their players only meeting, they lose 3-2 to Montreal in a shootout on the road. Scott Arniel, after the game, said he liked the team's effort, which I thought it was good as well. I don't think either team really had an edge in that game. I thought it was like pretty even. Um, Listen, there's 3-6-1 in their last 10. I think they're 5-1-1 in their last 7 without Hellebuck, and they're 4-9-13 since starting 9-3. Are the Winnipeg Jets in massive trouble?
No, I don't think they're in massive trouble. I mean, similar to Florida, but obviously a bit different, is like we know that Hellebuck's coming back, and we have the proof of concept that they can win and be a good team with him in net. So I think
Yeah.
if he is able to come back and be at 100%, which obviously after having a procedure like that, it's going to be tough. They'll give him his time, and if they can hang around a little bit as much as they can until then, that's their ticket. Without him, they may sneak in, whatever, be hang around the playoffs a little bit, but I think without him, it changes what their entire outlook of what their season could be. So I think they'll wait around. They'll see if they can get him back. Hey, like I mean, I thought Eric Comrie would be a reasonable guy to kind of help be a stopgap, but it just doesn't seem like he's able to get it done. I don't think they have many other options, so maybe they look around at a very cheap option to kind of help get through the next 3 or 4 weeks or however. I think that's about the timeline for Hellebuck
Yeah.
still. So yeah, maybe they look to kind of spell Comrie with another option, but yeah, I think you just kind of got to play it out and wait for your MVP candidate to come back and help bail you out really, because it's I'm sure it's exposed. I haven't been paying as much attention obviously, but I'm sure it's exposed a little bit more of their flaws without their best player in net. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think I saw Steve Valcott talk about this, and he's really good for talking about goalies. The environment in front of Hellebuck this year compared to last year is 10 times worse, and he thinks that's why. Well, at the time Hellebuck, but like now Comrie, who's playing the majority of the games. And you think that's why Comrie's not seeing the results that maybe you expect that he would see. It's not really his performance; it's just the environment in front of him. They're giving up a lot more high danger chances than what they did last year. So it's all in a fluid like mix that everything just goes together and it leads to disappointing results. But does this prove to you? I know there was a couple of people last year that said like, "Hey, Connor Hellebuck might be like shouldn't win MVP." But does this prove that he was a worthy MVP candidate last year and is still on that type of level now?
100% to me, like you see that kind of contrast between with him and without him, and I think you can only question how important, or you can't question how important he
Yeah.
is to that team, and it truly is. I think probably a one of one situation in the league where you have a guy like that who's just able to completely carry a team through a season and through. We've seen through playoff series, he's
Yeah.
struggled a little bit more, but he has played great as of late. So yeah, I think it's just one of those scenarios where it's like we really do see, like you said, the value of Connor Hellebuck not only to the Jets but to any team that would have him at some point. He truly is, I think,
Team USA.
proving that he is. Well, that's a good point, but I think that's the case. That's the case I'm trying to make is that not only is he probably the best goalie in the league, he's undoubtedly one of the top probably 5 players if you really consider everything.
Ooh, wow, that's a hot take. Why do you think top five?
Well, I just think like you put together a list of perennial MVP candidates, and as of late, he's one of those guys, right? So you're talking about
Game changer,
yeah, like a guy
game
who can
breaker.
yeah, like he can win you a game, but he can also um, like I said, carry you through a season, and he can hide so many different weaknesses on that team. And one thing, like you said, like one thing that has certainly hasn't helped them is that I think Neil Pionk's been out as well. So one of their better
Yeah.
defensemen plus their number one goalie, it's not a good result or situation for a good result. So I think you put Hellebuck back in net, and I think you immediately see a change in how not only the Jets results are, but how they play and how they feel and the confidence around him just completely shoots up, I'm sure. So, yeah, I mean that's kind of how I feel about him right now. And if he comes back and the team still continues to struggle, then maybe I got to look at it and say something changed along the way, and maybe the team's just not up to the task that it has been in the past. But for the moment, I look at that injury, and that seems to be the number one reason why the Jets have been struggling as of late.
So if you look at moneypuck.com, I don't know if anyone thinks of it as a valid website, but if you look at that, the goals saved above expected on here are Connor Hellebuck is 12.5, which is good for like seventh or eighth in the league, and Eric Comrie is at in 14 games, and Eric Comrie in 11 games is at 0.8. So like he's saving the shots that he's supposed to save, and he's doing good. It's just he's not Connor Hellebuck, right? Like you said, like Connor Hellebuck covers up so many other things that like then you don't have to worry about it, and that's the real difference with this team right now. Um, a lot of stuff going on in the NHL, so we're gonna have to keep a track on that because it's now officially Olympic roster month. So everything is gonna. You thought there was a lot of Olympic talk in the last 2 months. I think everything is gonna ratchet up even more in this month. To be honest, we're gonna move on to the NFL because this is a massive, massive week in the NFL. Week 14 has an amazing, amazing slate of games, including the Thursday night football matchup between the Dallas Cowboys and Detroit Lions. Brandon, is this an elimination game that we look at as in college and you just like college football and you say, this is an elimination game? Like, no matter what, which team ever loses this game, it's over for them. They're not making the college football playoff. Can you say the exact same with the NFL playoffs with this game and these two teams?
I mean, no, I don't think you can say that. I mean,
Wow.
especially,
Wow.
well, especially Detroit, I think, because they've got the extra win. I think they're 7-5, whereas the Cowboys obviously have that tie from
Ah,
earlier this
yeah.
season. So that really does put them at a disadvantage, especially in the NFC, where I guess technically the Cowboys are 2.5 games back of I think it's the Niners, and then the Lions are just those 2 games back. So I mean, even with a loss and even a Niners win, or I think the Packers are right there too. Like they're still going to be within it. I think this is not an
The
elimination
division
game.
as well.
That's right. Yeah, they have the other option to win the division. Whereas I think the Cowboys probably aren't taking the division away from the Eagles. I wouldn't
Oh,
think.
no, no, no. I think the Cowboys honestly could take the division away from the Eagles. If the Eagles offense continues to look the way it's looked, I think that they are in big, big trouble.
Yeah, maybe, but I mean, you're only talking 5 games left, so I mean, you're going to need the Eagles to go at a minimum, 3-2, if not 2-3. I don't know who owns if there's a tiebreaker situation there, but I
They're
guess
1-1 on the season,
yeah.
so
And with the Cowboys having that tie, like I said, they're going to have to be outright. They're going to have more wins outright
yeah.
than the Eagles. So I still think that's a tough road for them. But like I said, the Lions are still very much in play. I still think the Cowboys are very much in play. But a loss would certainly go. It would certainly drop both teams' percentages in terms of making the playoffs. I think it would drop it pretty drastically. But I wouldn't say that this week for either of those two teams is an elimination game. There are some elimination games out there, though.
There are some elimination games out there, and the rest of the slate is also really good as well. Indiana and Jacksonville, Cincinnati, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Chicago, Green Bay. And then at the end of the night, on Sunday night, it's Houston and Kansas City. Which one do you want to go to first? Which one caught your eye as like your game of the week?
I mean, it's maybe not the sexiest matchup, but I do think that Colts Jacksonville game
Yeah.
has the potential to really shake up the AFC because with a Jacksonville win and a Colts loss, I mean that for me would nearly lock up the division for the Jaguars, I would think, and then I think it would put the Colts at a real position where they could miss the playoffs in the AFC if some of the other teams like Houston and Kansas City, um, you know, are able to stack up
Yeah.
wins at the end of the season. So that's
But
one where
they're
I think
playing
it,
each other, so it's like
yeah, and that's the thing. It's like one of those teams is going to come out with a win, and that's just going to tighten up the gap in the AFC there. So that's one game where I think I don't really know what to expect, and I think that's what's exciting about it, and it's going to
mhm.
have huge ramifications in terms of who comes out in the AFC and obviously in that division. So
Yeah, when you look at the other games, like I look at Pittsburgh and I look at Baltimore,
absolutely,
as that being an insane insane matchup for this weekend, and it's perfect timing because this both teams are 6-6. Whoever wins this, it puts them firmly in the driver's seat of the division. In my opinion, right now, it moves them up ahead, obviously, but like they play each other again in a month in
yeah.
week 18. And like so it puts you in the driver's seat for the next month, but it's still like you if you're one record, if you're one I guess one loss or one win ahead of each other, it's still that point like you're still that week 18 matchup is what it's going to come down to, right? So
That's what I was gonna say is like unless in another big game, obviously the Bengals and the Bills, like unless the Bengals win out and challenge that, it really does feel like
yeah.
that Week 18 game between the Steelers and the Ravens will decide who gets into the playoffs from that division because I don't think without the division win the lead that the Steelers will
Yeah,
be a
they're not
threat.
I don't think yeah.
And maybe
Yeah.
the Baltimore could, sneak up and steal a wild card spot if they really had to, but I don't think they'll have to. So I think it's going to be one of those things where that game and obviously that Week 18 game is going to be a huge decider in the AFC North.
Mhm. When you look at Chicago and Green Bay, man, some people are saying this is a fraud bowl. I don't think it is. I don't think. Well, I should say that. I don't think 50% of this game is. I don't believe in Chicago still. I don't believe in Caleb Williams, but I do believe in Jordan Love, and I actually believe, yeah, it's a lie. I do believe in one thing in Detroit, and that is Ben Johnson. I think that he has completely turned this culture around, and he is the major reason why they are winning games that they should not be winning. You could even say the same with New England in the sense of like Mike Vrabel doing the exact same thing and turning that culture around. I would argue that Drake May's been more impactful, obviously has, because he's in the MVP conversation, actually the MVP favorite. So I think Ben Johnson has been a bigger factor of Chicago having this good of a season right now. And this is a massive game. The first time these two teams match up this season. And yeah, like I think like Ben Johnson had comments in the offseason about the Packers saying like he loved going down there and beating up on the Packers twice a year. So I think Matt LaFleur is obviously gonna have that down on the chalkboard for this week going into this for motivation. But man, oh man, this is going to be an absolute game. Um, who do you think wins this game? Who do you think comes out on top?
I mean, I'll take the Packers, but I'm not super confident just because of the way that
Really?
the way that the Bears have won games this year. It feels like they are like a team of destiny, where it's like they maybe don't play great for 3 quarters, but they kind of figure it out, or they're able to hold a lead when you don't expect it. And yeah, I think you're right on. Like I wouldn't say that I would ever, I'm not against, especially against good teams, against playoff teams. I'm not sure that I'm picking the Bears to win any particular matchups,
Yeah.
but I think that like I said, they just figure out ways to kind of get it done. And Ben Johnson's been a huge part of that. And I think you're right on that. I think the two, because the Packers and the Bears, they play each other, I think, in 2 weeks. So it's not even
Yeah.
like the Steelers and the Ravens where it's like, okay, we get you now and then we get you a month from now. It's like, they're right back in it with one game in between. And those 2 games could easily decide who wins the division if one team wins both of those. So, I mean, yeah, like
Yep.
the Bears must be looking at this as a real opportunity to go in and obviously take the away game and then play them again at home and have a real
Mhm.
shot to take the division and their lead in the NFC right now, which I don't think anybody would have had on their bingo card, heading into the season. So it's yeah, credit to Johnson and the Bears staff for having these guys ready and having them able to play, a full 60 minutes because they just keep coming out on top when you don't really expect it. So
So I gotta go back and get your picks so far because I just realized I didn't ask you.
yeah, sure.
Detroit and Dallas, who's winning tonight? Or
I
tomorrow, I guess is when we don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean,
Well, this will be
well,
yeah,
no,
but
but
it's okay.
I I'm gonna go with the Bears. We were just talking about the Bears. I'm gonna go with the Lions, I think. I think the Lions, I think they're all like,
Really?
obviously, both teams have great
Yeah.
offense. I think Detroit at home will figure out a way to get this done. I think it has potential to be a shootout, and I think
This
the
is gonna be a
Lions
great game no matter what, I feel
I
like.
just think the Lions maybe on
This is a
defense have
great
a little
game.
bit more. They're able to get a few extra stops, and I think they'll figure it out, and it's a huge game for them. And the Cowboys, I mean, yeah, like I expect them to put up a good fight, but I just don't think that this year is really their year, and I think they've kind of have some weaknesses that they've kind of yet to figure out as well. So I'll take the Lions there.
I disagree. I take the Cowboys. I think the
All
Cowboys
right.
are arguably the best team in the NFL right now in terms of the way they're playing. I like the defensive move for Quentin Williams. I like the offense. The offense is absolutely humming. You think you got one receiver locked down. Oh, wait, you got CeeDee Lamb on the other side. And if not, you got George Pickens and Javonte Williams is having an outstanding season. And I think like we're honestly like discrediting how good Dak has been this season.
No
He's been
doubt.
playing at an MVP level, man. Like he is absolutely killing it in Dallas right now. He is carrying this team, I feel like, through down the field when they don't even they should not be going down the field the way they are, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And it's all on Dak, I feel like. So I can't see them stopping a roll. They had two of their toughest games in 4 days, and they won both of them. Like that schedule with they played, I'm trying to remember who they played in week, oh my gosh, in week before the Thanksgiving game against Kansas City.
Play the
Uh
Eagles.
they played the Eagles, exactly. So they played the Eagles and then they played the Chiefs, the defending or the last Super
The
Bowl
two
matchup
Super Bowls.
in
Yeah.
4 days, and they go out and they win both with basically their season on the line because they need to win out, like we talked about, basically to have a chance of making the playoffs, and they do that. I don't think they stop rolling. I think they have momentum on their side, and I think they win tonight. And then let's go on to Indiana and Jacksonville. Who do you think wins there?
I'm going to take the Jaguars, to be honest. I truly do
Wow.
think that something with Daniel Jones has changed, whether it's this injury that he's got or, just as we continue to get into crunch time, maybe the real Daniel Jones shows up a little bit more. But
Wow.
I like what the Jags are doing. They've got a super good defense, which I think is underrated. They run the
Liam
ball
Cohen,
well.
man.
Jacoby Myers was a great decision to bring him in. I think he helps Trevor Lawrence a lot. And even though Trevor's not always the best in those clutch moments
I was
either,
interested.
I do think that this game at least they'll get it done. I think I like their chances in this one.
Trevor literally tries everything he can to lose the game, but also win the game at the exact same time. Like
Yeah, it's
it's the
very weird.
craziest crap like that you'll watch. Like if you ever watch just Trevor Lawrence, like this, like Clemson Trevor Lawrence never looked like this. NFL Trevor Lawrence looks like this every single week, and it's so frustrating to watch, but he's also entertaining at the exact same time. Moving on to Pittsburgh and Baltimore. I have Baltimore winning this game. I think Baltimore is the better team, even though this is like Mike Tomlin down against the world right now, and this is usually when he does his best work after getting embarrassed at home and giving up the most rushing yards in Steelers history, I believe. Like this is a spot where Tomlin should come back, but I think this is the end of Tomlin in Pittsburgh. So I think this is Baltimore's spot to get right game. What about you?
Yeah, I'll take the Ravens too. I think they
Yeah.
got to be licking their chops, going,
Yeah.
getting ready to take on the Steelers defense, and I think they'll probably try to run all over them just like the Bills did. So I think I'll take the Ravens there.
And finally, before we go on to the Sunday nighter, Cincinnati Buffalo. I think this is going to be a shootout as well. I think this is going to be an entertaining game. Cincinnati's defense is playing a lot better the past 2 weeks than what they have the past or for the whole season, which is just funny because basically it just lines up when Joe Burrow comes back and they're like, okay, we're actually going to play football now. It happens every time. That's how good of a quarterback Joe Burrow is as well because they look like a really good team when he's back playing. Um, who do you have winning this game?
Man, this Bengals team scares me, man. As a Bills fan, I'm not excited about this game. I wish we had
They
them on the
scared me
schedule
as well.
earlier. Yeah, I wish we had them on the schedule earlier in the year, but
Uh,
we'll take it. I mean, this is I think, a good test for the Bills to show if what they were able to do last week against Pittsburgh is able to kind of translate and continue on. Because yeah, it feels like as this Bills team continues, maybe their best bet is to continue to run the ball well and continue to pound it, and hopefully their defense can step up and continue to play better than they had in the past. So I'm going to take the Bills, but I mean it's not much of a confidence pick.
yeah, I mean, like you would expect the Ravens to beat them on Thanksgiving, and they couldn't get it done. So I mean, yeah, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough all the way around. Um, and then the final game, Houston and Kansas City. This game is insane for what's at stake here. Like, in my opinion, if Kansas City loses this game, it is over. It is over. They're not making the playoffs. It's you gotta win out for the rest of the season, and you gotta hope that you get some luck on your side. Um, what about like and Houston? Houston is not a team that to be messed with. Like their defense is elite, like probably one of the top three in the NFL right now. And if CJ Stroud can be a game manager instead of just a game breaker, because like he's not shown that ability in like I would say the last season to be what he was in his rookie season. If he can just be a game manager, like the Houston Texans are a dangerous, dangerous team. And I think that Kansas City might be in trouble. What about you, Brandon?
Yeah, no, I agree. They are definitely in trouble, and I think this game will come down to how Kansas City's defense plays against Houston. If, like you said, with CJ Stroud and the boys, if they're able to put up a few points, and Kansas City can't keep them close, yeah, we know that Chiefs team, that offense is going to have a tough time against that Texans defense. I expect them to be, you know, not much more than 20 points if they're lucky. So yeah, it's going to come down to what the Chiefs defense can do, and they haven't played as well recently. So that's going to be a huge factor. I just think with the desperation factor, I do think Kansas City is going to find a way to win this game. But you're right. If they lose this game, it gets a lot harder. They're going to need some real help from some of those wildcard teams in terms of if even if they don't win out, they might need a team to lose out, in order to kind of
Oh
get
yeah,
close enough to
yeah.
have a chance. So it's going to be really interesting. But yeah, for now, I'm still sticking with the Chiefs, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick the Texans. I'm gonna pick the Texans.
Very fair.
I think it's over. I think it's over. Patrick Mahomes is playing good too. Like that's the other
He's
thing.
playing
Like
great, and
he's
they have
playing
weapons,
good.
but yeah.
It's just they're not winning games, and it's just something different. I saw people on Twitter, and this is absolutely ridiculous, but this is what happens when you win games. Saying that Andy Reid needs to be fired. Like, come on, come on.
Yeah, no,
That's
I can't, I
that's not
can't, I
happening.
can't co-sign that. I think
Yeah,
whether or not you want to argue that maybe he is reaching closer to the end of his coaching career, like that's I think a very valid argument.
sure,
But
but
to say that they would ever fire him for anything
three
other than
Super Bowls in the
yeah,
last like 4
like
years, like
it's just
come
not
on.
going to happen. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
but that's
that's
whatever.
5 years, I guess now.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, it's just what is it? 4 Super Bowls in the last 5 years they've also been in. With
Yeah, and it's like
exception to the Bengals one, I think.
5-7 or something too, because they lost at that Tampa one, like in
Yeah,
2019 or whatever. So it's been an incredible run. Like there's no way
yeah.
they just up and fire a guy who's had
It's
everything to do with it. Like,
crazy to say, "Hey, let's just get rid of this guy right now."
yeah.
Like, no,
And I get it though
not
because
happening.
fans want to see those kind of dynasties continue. So I mean, if they truly
Yeah,
believe that there's another coach out there that could come in and just like
there
all of a
isn't
sudden
though.
bring this team back, yeah,
Lane
that's what I
Kiffin,
mean. It's like that's incredible.
Lane
No,
Kiffin.
no.
What we should just talk about that briefly because, like, what do you think about that? Like, Lane Kiffin leaves Ole Miss as a playoff team, potentially even going to be a home playoff team in the first round, and goes to LSU. I mean, this is the history of Lane Kiffin. Go to one place and absolutely end it in a miserable way, and just absolute drama every single time. What do you think of it though, when you actually sit back and go? Did he make a right decision? Was it not his fault? Is it just the way the college football is set up, or is it still ruthless and he shouldn't have done it?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the end, it comes down to how the conversations behind the scenes happen. If Kiffin's true to his word and he said, "Hey, I got to take this job, but I do want to coach you guys in the play. Like I want to be a part of the rest of the season." And
Yeah,
if Ole Miss said, "Hey, thanks, but we're good. Like you can go ahead and move on, and we'll handle it ourselves." Both sides are able, fully able to do that, and that's their own right.
yeah.
But I do
You
think
can't have
like
him coach. Like
no, I
you
don't.
couldn't.
I don't. But I do agree that like it is weird that like that's the time that the coaching hires happen. Is like
They should have
yeah,
fired him before the Egg Bowl.
maybe if they
Like, or
really
not
had
fired him,
it.
but, like, told him to leave. Like, if he
Yeah,
knew that they were
yeah,
going, if he knew
yeah,
that he was leaving,
yeah,
let him leave now. And, like, speculation is, like, he didn't think that you might win the Egg Bowl, or you wanted to be sure you're gonna win the Egg Bowl to get into the playoffs, so you left him until after the Egg Bowl. Like,
yeah.
it's
That's what I
just
mean. Like with everything, it does seem like a bit disrespectful on Kiffin's part. But at the same time, like if that's where your career's headed, and you feel like that's the this position you got to take, and that's his right, and it's just sad that like yeah, it had to come down to something like that, and it feels like with his whole press conference and everything, it just feels like there's a lot of like yeah, like backhanded stuff happening where it just feels like it doesn't have to be that way, but teach
we
their own.
we can't lie, it's probably the best job in college,
Yeah.
outside of Georgia, Alabama,
But
maybe,
it's a
but,
tough
like,
one.
even those
He better be
yeah.
ready. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Like, if he does not win a national championship in the next 4 years, it's a disappointment.
And it
100% a
could
disappointment.
completely change his like a coach. It completely changed the coach's legacy coaching
Yeah.
at a school like LSU. Like
He
like you said, I don't think they've won. Like I don't
They
know if
haven't
a
won
coach has won two.
since,
They won
since Ed.
with Burrow, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
since Burrow.
So it'll be
In
interesting to see
2019.
what happens. Yeah,
Like,
no
this is
doubt.
a place that expects national championships, and if he's going to leave Ole Miss, which is ranked 6th in the nation, a really, really good SEC program that is contending for national championships year after year now, you better win a damn championship if you're going to LSU. And I think that's what fans expect. If they don't get that, then it's just going to be like Kalen DeBoer at Alabama, and it's going to be absolutely horrific right there. But yeah, it's probably the best job that's available. It's the one that everyone has their eyes on, and it's the one that every coach probably dreams of coaching is LSU. So to deny that opportunity, I think it's probably the wrong thing to do, especially considering the added budget that you get with that program compared to Ole Miss. So yeah, at the end of the day, it's it's a better job. It sucks what happened. Also, I want to say this quickly. It's just a college football problem in general, in the sense that, hey, we're going to line up our signing day on December 3rd. We're going to open up the portal while players are in the playoffs. So you can't, like, you got people transferring in the playoffs anyway that are not going to be playing with their teams because they're switching schools. Like, it's ridiculous how the college football how NCAA has this set up. Like, screw the academic calendar. You have to create your own calendar that prevents this from happening. Like, if Lane Kiffin wanted to leave, he's okay to leave. I don't have a problem with that. But it's the situation that you put him in where he has to leave at this time, because if not, he's going to miss out on signing day. And that's a massive, massive day for recruiting. And then you're going to also miss out on the transfer portal. Like, then he might as well just not even go, like, to LSU. He might as well just stay. Like, it's set up terribly for both the players and coaches in terms of, hey, you gotta leave. We gotta get you in the transfer portal now, and then you gotta leave, and like, cause you gotta get we gotta get our quarterback, and if you're not gonna come now, we're just gonna go get another quarterback that's on the playoffs, and it's terrible setup. It's so bad, and I think they just need to realize, hey, we don't have to follow the academic schedule. We can follow our own schedule and set it up that way. And that way everyone can just choose what they want to do on appropriate time, and it doesn't actually hurt everyone's seasons. That's my little rant there on the CFB. But
No,
anyway,
I couldn't agree more.
moving on to the NBA, the last topic here today. Just two questions for you, and it's both about the OKC Thunder. Are the 2025 Oklahoma City Thunder a better team? Let me just emphasize that team than the 2015-2016 Golden State Warriors. Obviously, star power, Golden State has that advantage. But when you think about team, do you think that this team is honestly better than that team?
I don't think I can answer that right now on December 4th
Okay,
of
that's
the
fair.
NBA season, but I can't say that they're not potentially on track to surpass that team in more ways than one. I think looking at their 21-1 record, clearly
Yep,
on pace to break a 73 win
73
Warrior
or 9
season.
season, yeah.
Um, yeah, like if they were to do that and maybe they go on and win another NBA championship, then I don't think there's even a question. But I get what you're saying in terms of like when we look back at these two dynasties, which one will be like the definitive one? I or the definitive team. Right now, it's hard not to look at that group of Warriors teams and say, hey, that was, the best, the dynasty that we've seen in since maybe the 2000s, really, in the
Yeah,
NBA.
yeah.
But I think, yeah, this Thunder team has a chance, especially with the way that their team is set up by their GM Sam Presti, is to continue to bring in young guys that are just going to continue helping them at some point in the season. And even if they do have to move off a star player or two at some point, they're very well equipped to fill that spot with another young player. So obviously, we're going to have to wait. It could be years down the line before we really know kind of what that definitive dynasty might be. And maybe the Thunder flame out at some point. Maybe they do win another title somewhere here in the next couple of years, but maybe that's it. And then, it would be clear that the Warriors would still be, at the top of that list. So I think I'm really excited to see what the Thunder continue to do. I think as we can, just like that I think the 2015, 2016 season. It does feel like we're going to be, into January, into February, starting to really count down the days, and
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
Thunder game will be, the biggest game of the season, because if they can continue to stack up wins, like they're really gonna be at pace to break this record, and it really is a great thing for the NBA, when you got a team that's dominating
This
the rest of the
good.
league like this. Yeah,
Um, I'm just looking at it right now. Like, they're this good, and no other team can ever say this. They're 21-1, and yet they still have 3 picks in the lottery right now.
yeah, it's
Like,
crazy.
that's that's just insane. They literally have what would be the 7th, the 9th, and the 14th pick right now in the NBA draft. Like,
Yeah.
this thing is gonna be 10 years just pure dominance, and it's just gonna keep on rolling over and over and over, and it just does not stop. It does not stop with this team, and they're just going to be able to keep on doing what they're doing. They already have their players signed to mega contracts, and they actually avoided a $50 million clause because Jalen Williams missed enough games that he's not even going to get All NBA this season. So they're saving $50 million there, and you're just going to be able to use that for the rest of the team because they're not now they were at risk of, with the current format they had with the team, of going in that second apron. Now that they don't have to pay that $50 million, they're not going in the second apron. So they can keep the game or the team together and still have all these picks. And they already won 1 championship and they're 21-1. This is an absolute dynasty in the making. And like I said, they're gonna rattle off like 5 in a row. Like, I would not be shocked if we're sitting here year like 2029 and we're saying, so the Thunder are 25-1 on the season. Could they break their own record of 75 and 7 on the year? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's how good of a franchise this. Like, you want to talk about setting a franchise up? Sam Presti might be the best GM in the history of sports. Like, he might be.
Yeah, it's a fair comparison because, yeah, like you said, it doesn't feel like that there's much of an obstacle, especially in the regular season, for them to stumble. Like you mentioned already, like the Jalen Williams injury, they could have easily had started the season slow and had an
Yeah,
excuse, coming off a championship
second best
hangover,
player.
and then not having your second best player available to start the year. But it's like they took that challenge and ran with it, and now that they're fully healthy, they're completely, just rolling. And it's going to be hard for many teams to stop them on any given night. And that's where I'm like thinking, like you get to the playoffs, and there are some teams in the West that I think can compete in a 7-game series, but it'll still be difficult to knock them out. And that's where it's like down the line, where do you see that? Yeah. However you see this team, finishing in the next 5-10 years, like it really doesn't feel like that they're going to kind of fall apart at any point. Like it'll take something like a catastrophic injury, or one of their higher paid players eventually wanting to leave, or demanding a trade or something like that. But for the time being, they're absolutely set up to be one of the top 3, if not top 2, top 1 teams in the NBA for the next 5 to 10 years. It's crazy.
I'm looking at the picks right now. So they have 3 picks, 3 first rounders this year. They have 3 first rounders next year. They have they have 1 in 2028. They have 2 in 2029, and then they meter out and they have 1 in 2030 and 1 in 2031 and 1 in 32. But they still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 second round picks in 2030. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
and
It's
and the thing
ridiculous.
that and the thing, especially in the NBA, is because you don't have such a large roster, it really does allow you to kind of not move off of, but like allow some of your lower paid role players to move off to other teams as you continue your
Yeah.
window, and then you refill them, especially in such a young man's league like the NBA. Some of these first round picks can step in and play a bench player's role and maybe develop into something more. This kid AJ Mitchell, everyone's talking about on the
Yeah.
Thunder, like he stepped in for Jalen Williams when he was injured, and he's looking like
Like,
another great selection that nobody really
that's
was too much aware of. So it's just
that's
like
the
if they can
thing.
continue to bring guys in, they'll be in a great spot.
They have the core. They're not going to go trade these picks they already won a championship with this team. Why would you go trade for more?
Yeah,
What they will do is just instead of paying the players like a lot of money and ruining the team, they'll just turn these young players and use their entry level deals and ride that. Just the
exactly.
way that they're
Yeah.
gonna do it, because that's the best way to do it, and that's the best way to continue a dynasty. And like you said, these first round picks are just gonna be able to step in it and contribute on a nightly basis. It's just gonna be unfair. I just like you might as well just cancel the NBA for the next 5 seasons and just say, Oklahoma, let's just give you the championship as the greatest dynasty in the history of the game.
Yeah, and I mean, I do think that there is value to the competition in the playoffs. Like we talk about some of the like more so it feels like this year than in some past years, but like I think Denver can compete. Houston, I think at their best can compete. The Lakers, it
Yeah.
seems like are pretty good, and maybe they are a sneaky team that could compete. So if not to say that any of these teams are going to beat the Thunder in a 7-game series, but it's going to be incredible, I think, NBA playoffs this season, especially because you have that kind of momentum from last year with the Thunder and running into this year, and who's going to be the team, if there is one, to kind of dethrone them if they can. And if they don't, then the Thunder are going to be sitting at the top again, looking like there's nobody that can really stop them going forward. So it's going to be just like a dramatic kind of change in the NBA as we continue to see this dynasty start.
I think last year was the real like the game that was like or the season that was like you're gonna stop OKC this season, but that's gonna be the last time. And they couldn't do it. Like they got through, they beat Denver, and that was the big thing. And yeah, now it's I think it's over. Like I think this is going to be the greatest dynasty we're ever going to see. And I fully believe that, just not because of the way that they're playing right now. It's just like the way that they're also set up in the future. And the team that
It-
they have, and Shea is an MVP player, and it's ridiculous.
So Shea's going to challenge with a Bill Russell's ring record or whatever.
No, he'll get to Michael's ring record, like, or challenge that. Like, I can see that.
I
What if he
mean, yeah, I
was?
mean,
What if we're talking like 5 years and Shea's 6-0 in the finals?
I mean that would be absolutely incredible, especially as a Canadian. Like that would be just like one of the best things that could happen
Like,
to
you know what I
to
mean? Like, and
basketball in this country. But yeah,
he's
like it,
that good in the finals, and he wins like 6 finals MVPs.
I mean, then yeah, maybe we're talking about one of the greatest teams ever, and yeah, maybe obviously he would be right into that conversation of one of
Greatest
the
player of
best
all.
guys of all time. Yeah, yeah, it's insane.
Exactly.
That would be insane. And obviously, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but like it really does feel like
Yes.
you said, like that they're gonna be at the top. They're gonna be the one seed in the West. They're gonna have home court advantage throughout the entire playoffs. Again, um, they're going to be the favorites in every series they play. Like it's going to be amazing. It's going to be incredible to
Hmm.
watch how they navigate that, and if the pressure erodes them a little bit, or if they're able to roll through it. So
Yeah, and like we saw last year, they were like basically like after they won their first championship, all right, that was cool. Let's go do it again. Like they didn't care basically. It just felt like let's go do it again. That was
yeah,
like what
yeah,
it felt like. They didn't care about celebrating. They were just like, okay, that was cool. We want to do it
absolutely.
again. Let's get better at celebrating. But anyway, this was a long episode, but it was a well talked episode. I feel like we talked about a lot of different things, and got a lot of subjects in there. That was hot button topics. I
Yeah,
can't speak now at the end
no,
of
it was
this
a lot of fun.
episode. But anyway, thank you for listening to episode 43 of the Second Look Sports Podcast. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, the Apple Podcasts, and the Spotify. And yeah, we'll see you next week. Peace.